A £4,500 bill, a recall document covering 72 Bugattis, and a phone that nobody picked up. Matt Armstrong's Veyron rebuild just hit a wall that exposed something far bigger than a broken component, and the way Bugatti handled it tells you everything you need to know about what it actually means to own one of the most expensive cars ever built. The Veyron had been running beautifully on the drive to Dunsfold. 150 miles of motorway without a single complaint from the car, and then at the runway, the engine fired, held for roughly 1 second, and cut dead. No warning codes multiplying across the dash. No misfires, no rough idle building toward a stall. Just clean ignition followed immediately by silence, over and over, like something was deliberately pulling the plug the moment combustion started. That pattern mattered because random failures produce random symptoms, and this was anything but random. Matt's first instinct pointed toward the GPS tracker that had recently been fitted to the car. The logic was fair enough, given that the tracker was the one new variable between the successful drive and the shutdown at the runway. He rang the tracker company directly and asked whether their system could interfere with the fuel pump. The answer came back clean. It was a standard 3-wire install, not a full immobilizer system, and it had no ability to cut fuel supply. First theory, gone. The duplicate speed key was next. Using a copied keyblade to activate top speed mode had been the only other difference between the outward journey and the moment things went wrong, and it raised a reasonable question about whether the car's security system had flagged an unauthorized key and shut things down in response. Matt brought in his locksmith contact dips, and using professional AVDI diagnostic equipment, they confirmed the genuine Bugatti key chip was reading without fault. No immobilizer errors, no key recognition issues at all. Second theory, gone. Fuses came next, and given this Veyron's history through the rebuild, that wasn't a stretch of the imagination. Fuses had blown on indicators, on gearbox pumps, on systems across the car. Matt worked through every single one. The interior box, both engine bay boxes, pulling and testing them individually because no fuse diagram existed to speed the process up. Every fuse passed. Third theory, gone. With 3 dead ends behind him and dips confirming through diagnostics that no immobilizer fault was present, Matt began physically tracing the component the scanner had kept flagging throughout the process, the fuel pump control module. He pulled the rear panel for access, checked the connector, checked each pin, checked the wiring run. Nothing looked damaged, nothing looked obviously wrong, and that's when Matt made one of those decisions that separates experienced mechanics from methodical ones. He unplugged the module entirely, half expecting nothing to change, and the car started and stayed running. What happened in that moment came down to how the module functions when it's present versus absent. Connected and malfunctioning, it sends corrupted signals that trigger a system shutdown. Disconnected completely, the fuel pumps default to running at a constant rate, which means fuel pressure goes unregulated, but the engine stays alive long enough to confirm where the fault actually lives. The car ran cleanly without the module and died every time with it connected. That left only one conclusion. To make sure the diagnosis was solid, Matt swapped the 2 fuel pump ECUs that manage each bank of the W16 separately. The logic was simple. If the problem followed the module rather than staying with a specific bank, the module had to be the source. The fault stayed exactly where it was after the swap, which confirmed it. The fuel pump control module had failed. Finding the part number to source a replacement led Matt somewhere he hadn't expected to end up. Searching online returned not just supplier listings, but a recall document, and the contents of that document changed the entire shape of the story. 72 Bugatti Veyrons had been subject to an official recall targeting the fuel tank control unit, with the fix being a revised version running software version V3.03. Matt pulled the module he'd just removed from his own car, checked the version number, and found V3.03 already installed. The upgraded component that Bugatti issued as the recall solution had failed anyway. That detail deserves a moment of attention. Bugatti identified a fault serious enough to affect 72 cars and warrant a formal recall. They engineered a revised component, issued it as the correction, and the revised version still failed in Matt's car. The problem the recall was supposed to solve wasn't actually solved. And because this Veyron falls within the 72 affected by that recall document, Matt's read on the situation was straightforward. Bugatti should be replacing this part free of charge. A documented failure, an official recall, a revised part that also failed. The manufacturer knows this component's history better than anyone, and the evidence exists in writing to prove it. So Matt called Bugatti. What followed was its own kind of diagnostic, not of the car, but of the company. Bugatti London went straight to voicemail on the first call, not a queue, not a busy tone, voicemail. The service department didn't answer either. Then he tried sales. Sales picked up within seconds, called him back almost immediately when they thought there might be a purchase involved, and the moment they understood he was an existing owner with a service problem, they transferred him back to service, which didn't answer again. Matt then rang Pagani Manchester purely as a comparison, and the line connected on the first ring. A human voice answered immediately. Bugatti, during business hours on a Monday, couldn't manage what a competing manufacturer's dealership handled without any difficulty at all. By the time the day ended, Matt had called Bugatti London multiple times, tried Bugatti Paris, and attempted the service centre directly. None of those calls reached a person. The following morning, Bugatti Manchester rang back and confirmed the part was available, sourced directly from the factory in Molsheim, France. The price was £4,500. Not for a rebuilt unit, not for a used pull. For a component with a documented recall history whose revised version had already failed, the bill came to £4,500, and the price wasn't even the full picture. Bugatti's condition wasn't simply that the part cost what it cost. The car had to come to Bugatti for fitting, not an option to buy the module and have a trusted independent install it. Not a technical data sheet to allow a qualified mechanic to handle the calibration. The only path forward ran through Bugatti's official dealer network, at Bugatti's schedule, at Bugatti's labour rate, after Bugatti's service team decided to answer the phone. That's not a parts pricing issue. That's a system built to ensure the money flows in one direction no matter what. The distinction from the rest of this rebuild matters here. Throughout the Veyron project, Matt had sourced Audi components, Volkswagen parts, and supplier alternatives that bypassed Bugatti's pricing wherever the car's architecture allowed it. This module doesn't allow it. The fuel pump control unit is Bugatti-specific, software coded into the car's operating system, and only available through channels Bugatti controls entirely. Every workaround that worked before hits a wall here, and Bugatti knew that before Matt ever started calling. What the recall document actually reveals is that the gatekeeping isn't accidental. A manufacturer that issues a recall installs a revised part, watches the revised part fail, and then prices the replacement at £4,500 with mandatory dealer fitting isn't reacting to an unexpected problem. It's operating exactly as designed. The recall created a paper trail. The paper trail confirms the fault was known. The known fault produces a repair that feeds back into the same system that made ownership complicated from the beginning. Matt's position at the end of all this was exactly where Bugatti's structure was built to put him. Calling repeatedly, accepting the terms, paying the price, bringing the car in. The phone calls that didn't get answered and the one that got answered immediately by sales capture the whole thing in miniature. When there's money coming in, the line connects. When there's a warranty question or a recall conversation to be had, the voicemail picks up. Whether Bugatti actually addresses the recall angle before charging full price for a module their own documentation flags as a known failure point is the question sitting at the center of everything that comes next.